Greetings, I'm Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, today with Pillar Loves Tabletop Games. Today with one of my personal favorite tabletop games of all time. Been waiting for this for a while now. Android. Goal of the game is to get the most victory points, and to do that you're going to have to use your detectives and your time and your resources to figure out how to ensure that your guilty hunches pay off and your innocent hunches pay off as well. You'll also navigate the conspiracy puzzle to make things worth more victory points, or make things that are negative points even worse. And finally, you'll have to solve your personal life to keep that together so that it doesn't fall apart and leave you even worse than the way things started for you. Trying to get your plots to a happy ending is what you're trying to do for yourself. So yeah, as part of the setup for the game, you'll have your random or chosen detective. They will start with some stuff. They will start with their vehicle arc, because movement in this game is from point to anything within that line. Might start with some extra stuff like Raymond gets a dropship pass. You will place some starting evidence. So, physical evidence and document evidence will be pretty close to you to give you a jump start on getting evidence for the case. Speaking of the case, you'll set up the case by establishing the crime scene, setting up the usual suspects, having a random first player with a marker at the scene of the crime to show that they will be the first player at the start of the given round. Any initial testimony locations will be set up as well. So, primary suspect number 1 is here at a NAPD. New Angeles Police Department. You'll have your character's light cards close to you. You'll shuffle and you'll draw one for yourself. Your dark cards will be shuffled and go out to the middle of the board here, where everyone else has reached to them. And then all the various favors, baggage, other fun tokens get placed where they can be accessed. The conspiracy tiles will get shuffled and put into their respective piles, and everyone will have one of their player markers next to the shift reward. And the day marker will start on the first day of the first week. You'll also shuffle the general events and randomly pick a special event that will take effect at the start of week 2. One of the things I had to errata in the FAQ was that this event happens at the start of the week, at the start of that day, not the end of the day like everything else. So, with a random first player, we'll start your turn and proceed clockwise. Let's go over all the detectives real quick. Raymond, Trouble PI. He starts with a card called Wrapped Up in Himself. He has a higher maximum hand size than anyone else. And once per turn, he can draw 2 cards for 1 time. Unfortunately, he has some pretty bad memories that get randomly dealt out to each of the opponents. Memorize these before the start of the game and do your best to remember, because the longer the game goes on, the more likely you're going to forget and the more likely you're going to walk right into it and end up losing things. Lewis Blaine. He's a corrupt cop. He starts out in a bad mood. As long as he's in a bad mood, dark cards played by Lewis onto other investigators can cost 1 more, 1 less. If a light card is played by him, it turns over and he's in a good mood. And his light cards cost 1 more, 1 less. And if a dark card gets played on him, it flips back over. It's very moody. We'll get into the cost of cards here in a minute. Rachel Beckman, bounty hunter. Estranged from her dad. Part of her mechanic is that she tracks her money. Money can be spent on cyberware, but ending the game with more of it means more victory points. Floyd, the Bioroid. So, part of the story of Android is 2 different companies, 2 different approaches to artificial humans, artificial labor. Gentechi's clones, and Haas's Bioroids. And Floyd starts out at Haas. He is partly governed by his directives. They give him advantages at a cost. And part of his plots involve potentially giving up the directives for a chance at personal glory. And finally, we have Caprice, the clone, with psychic powers. She tracks her sanity, and sanity determines her time. And her second plot in the game is always determining whether or not she can keep it together well enough to have a solid future out of her. So we got all the detectives, we got all their starting stuff, starting with a light card and one of each of their opponent's dark cards. And starting with their little shift marker right on the middle, playing cards moves that token. And we'll get into that here in a minute. So, starting with first player's first turn, they can do the following things. First off, they start off with 6 time. Unless they're Floyd with his 1 directive intact. Let's start with 7. Actions in general will cost you time. There might be a card you can play that lets you play it for 0 time. Various locations will require 1 or 2 time to get things. So, first off is move to another location. You will place your one end of your vehicle arc and try to reach as far as possible. You can go from point to point, or point to anything that's within that arc. So from here, you could stop here if you wanted to. You go straight to Rockville Estates. Don't really need to. Yeah, anything you can reach within that arc, you can move to. And it costs you 1 time. If you're trying to move into a space that requires a warrant, you need to have your warrant there. Otherwise, you can't move to there at all. You can get warrants from Monroe and Associates. Caprice and Floyd start with warrants there because they have to be there for certain effects. They're a part of the company. But let's say he ends up just moving to here, the A Plus Athletic Club, because that was within his arc. Now, for 1 time, you can follow up a lead. There are 3 types of leads in this game. Physical, represented with a little fingerprint. A document, represented with a security camera. And testimony, represented with a person, like Eve. Maybe it's Eve testifying, maybe it's somebody testifying about Eve. Maybe someone passing on Eve's testimony for her. But yeah. When you follow up a lead, you have 2 options. Grab a random piece of evidence and add it to a suspect file based on what type it is. So, physical evidence would be strong against Thomas Haas. Meanwhile, physical evidence is weak against Eve. Strong and weak are things you'll worry about when closing the case. But the various tokens you'll pull are positive numbers. Positive numbers are guilt. Guilt is what means that suspect will be considered guilty at the end of the game. Negative numbers are innocence. The more a suspect has, the more likely they're going to be innocent at the end of the case. Do not mix these 2 up. Positive is guilt, negative is innocent. Don't get it backwards. Blue face tokens represent surprise witness and are worth -5. Alibis that you can get from Order of Soul are also -5. But it also means tipping your hand and ensuring that someone's going to be gunning for that suspect. However, red face tokens are perjury. They can turn a surprise witness or an alibi into the most damning evidence against that suspect ever. Every perjury token of a suspect turns 1 surprise witness or alibi from a negative into a positive. Yeah, let's say I drew this 2 and I put it on Eve. It's going to be in her weak evidence. It goes face down and it stays there until the end of the game. Alternatively, you can use it towards the conspiracy. So, start of the game, you start with your marker next to the shift reward. You can either flip up the piece where your token is and extend the conspiracy, or you can dig deeper. Move your marker to the next pile up. This pile lets you shift 1 direction, light or dark. This pile lets you get a favor from the various normal favors. This pile lets you get baggage, either good for yourself or bad for someone else. If you're at a higher level pile and you choose to flip then you get sent back to the lowest. Alternatively, if the lowest one is taken, then everybody moves up to the next one. What you're trying to do with the conspiracy is set things up so that the multiple sides of the conspiracy will connect to something you're trying to aim for personally. Like, let's see how this ends up. Alright, there we go. Let's say we ended up, over the course of the game, with this conspiracy in this state. So, we've got two sides of the conspiracy connected to Cardinal Reese. So, every link to the conspiracy for a different side will affect that. Cardinal Reese makes sad endings worse by -1. So having two links to the conspiracy means that sad endings are now worth another -2. Sometimes things will be shown on the pieces, like various leads that you'll follow up, getting additional pieces, putting hits on suspects, or they're getting other rewards. So, let's see. There's some stuff I'm trying to keep at the top of my head, other things I just kind of slip out. Let's see here. Cover the conspiracy. You select a lead of the type shown and move it as though it's been followed up by the player to your left. So it lets you move leads around. Hopefully something closer to you for later. In the upper pile of pieces are the two major Android companies. Connecting them to conspiracy will make their tokens worth more. I believe. It's been a while. If you can get the warrants, the favors, and the cards to do it and get the tokens, that's more victory points at the end of the game. And then connecting them to the conspiracy makes those tokens worth even more points. So, yeah. As silly as it is, the whole conspiracy puzzle thing is one of the things I kind of like about this one. Yeah. After whatever you end up doing with your lead, the player to your right has to move it. Let's say... How did I have these in order? Yeah. Let's say the player to the right was Caprice. So, in order to move the lead, that player cannot put the lead in their own district. They have to move it somewhere else, a new location of the same type. So it's blue on the back as a reminder, hey, this goes in a blue location. So she can move it to the Midway. Move it to Monroe. She can't put it where it's already evidence there. And put it far out of the way. She just can't put it anywhere close to her, and man, there's a lot of good places she can put it next to her. And I've dropped a little token bit to Remember to look for that here in a minute. Alright. You can draw a card for one time. Either one of your light cards or someone else's dark card. You can also spend a time to discard a card. Playing cards, you can discard other cards to get discounts, but sometimes you just need to clear your hand. And it's going to bug me if I don't find that piece. Let's see. Yeah. You can get a jump on the case. If you're at the scene of the crime, spend a time, replace the marker with your own. And after everyone's taken their turn for the day and resolved end of the day stuff, whoever's token is there as the new first player for the next day. So when you play a light card, okay, so something messed up with the setup is at the start of the week, you get a new plot card. If you are playing as Raymond Flint, you have a single plot card for the entire game. When you play a light card, or when someone plays a dark card against you, they will to play one of your own light cards, you have to dark shift. If the card matches the plot, you can modify the cost by 1 in either direction. If you discard cards from your hand, you can discount the cost of the card by 1. So, matching Old Flame, this card I could choose to pay 1, or I could accept paying 2. I can't pay 3 because I'm not all the way to the left. You want to be in the dark shifted as far as you can during other players' turns, because in order to play dark cards during other players' turns, you have to light shift. And again, it's the cost of the card. You can discount by discarding cards. You can modify the cost by matching the plot that they have. So if I play this on Rachel and it's matching her plot, I can make it 3 to be in a better position on my own turn to play light cards again. It's just a weird balance thing. Yeah. We'll get to plots later. Alright. And then location abilities. Once per being at a location, you can use their ability if you meet the cost. So to use Monroe and Associates, you have to have 1 time available and 1 corp favor, and that lets you put a warrant somewhere. There are 4 places you can put a warrant. For example, we've got Caprice's warrant. It starts the game on Jinteki. Floyd, who starts with warrant on Hospiroid. Order of Soul and Humanity Labor also require warrants. You only have 2 warrants to work with in the entire game. Once you've placed both of them, any further placing a warrant lets you move one that you already have in play instead. Alright. Other things that'll come up with movements. The first time you enter a Ritzy location, represented with a diamond, you can draw a light card. The first time you move into a CD location, you can draw a dark card. You're limited to 1 of each that way during your turn. Lily Lockwell. If you move here and you have time, you must spend one. She then lets you turn up a piece of evidence on a suspect. You don't get to look at everything ahead of time. You pick a piece of evidence on a suspect and flip it up. If you're in the location with Jimmy the Snitch, you may spend it one time, and he lets you peek at all the evidence on one suspect, or at all the cards in someone's hand. And I'm continuing to drop my pieces here. Alright. Oh, found them. Cool. Alright. Whoever you end up interacting with between the two, they'll be moved like a lead later. The one thing that cannot happen ever. Okay, Lily and Jimmy can occupy the same spot as a lead. They cannot occupy the same space together. That's just matter and antimatter hitting in the same location. So no matter what, those two can never occupy the same spot. Something else to keep in mind is, as you're doing things on your turn, give people time to react with dark cards against you, or Raymond's memories. But once you have spent all your time, it is then the player to your left. When everyone in the day has taken their turn, it goes to the end of the day. If it's moving off of the general event spot, we'll draw a general event card. And it'll start in event slot 1. And then the next event will move into event slot 2. And then the next one that draws will push it out. The specific event, very specifically, is drawn at the start of that day. Again, they had to errata it in the Android FAQ, but it'll do some funky stuff like moving all the testimonies around, and also putting a critical "you have to take care of this now before bad stuff happens" event. Noise is cooking up something nasty. You have to spend time at all of our robotics to move the noise to NAPD. And if you don't, all the evidence and alibis get wiped off all the suspects. But yeah, events. Sometimes an event will mention an NPC. If that NPC is, for whatever reason, eliminated, that event does not happen. It comes into play, it's turned face down, it just occupies a slot. Yeah, each character has their own NPCs that they're connected to. They're all like back here. Like Floyd has Director Haas, Father Michael, and Simmons. It's possible for them to be eliminated, which means any favors that were connected to them are lost and you can't get them anymore. There's the other thing that comes up. NPC favors. They can be spent as one of the things they represent, but at the end of the game, they represent all of those favor types for any conspiracy bonuses. Yeah. Everybody will do stuff. Marker will move. If anything was left behind here, that happens. So, at the end of the 3rd and 6th days for the week, you'll have to deal with your plot. Generally. At the end of your third day, if you're not Raymond Flint, you'll have to look at the baggage that's currently on your plot card and proceed from there. If you have more positive than negative, then it goes to the positive result. Otherwise, it goes to the negative. If you are playing as Floyd, you decide what happens, and then all the baggage moves to the next card. Otherwise, all the baggage gets removed, and you go to the card as shown on the result. So, if Floyd chooses honor, he has to give up his third directive. But that's a potential shot at his best ending. Now, Flint is a little bit unusual. Usually at the end of the 6th day, you're resolving the back half of your plot and getting points for that ending. It is on the 6th day when Flynn resolves the first half of his. All of his eggs are in one basket for the plot. But it means he's got more time to try to set it up. But eventually, either by the end of the week or the end of the game, you'll hit the ending for the plot. And it'll be worth those points at the end. If it is positive, it's considered a happy ending, which is important for the media. If it is negative, it is a sad ending, which is important for Cardinal Reese. Either way, it's going to affect your endgame. Alright. Now the game will continue on, and eventually it'll hit the climax. On the last 2 days of the game, evidence that gets followed up doesn't get moved, it gets removed completely. Because the leads are running out, there's less things to figure out and learn. When the end of the game is reached, after everyone's resolved their plots, all the evidence on all the suspects will be flipped face up. The lowest number on strong for each suspect will be removed. If there's multiple of the same number, they get removed together. So that's why you want to try to put as much as you can of different values. Meanwhile, weak, the highest value gets removed. So, for example, let's say 2 and -3 were on strong. -3 gets removed. But if 2 and -3 were on weak, then 2 would get removed. Whatever remaining evidence is on a suspect, you total it, and the highest value is the guilty suspect. Whoever has the hunch card that shows that suspect gets those points. Something I neglected to mention in setup. You set up a number of suspects based on the number of players plus 1. It means that at least one innocent hunch and one guilty hunch will be out of the game to keep people guessing. Anyone who isn't guilty is considered innocent, and anyone with innocent hunches get the innocent points. It is entirely possible that you end up with both the guilty and innocent hunches. You score either way. This is considered obsession. You score either way, but if your guilty hunch has 5 more guilt than anyone else, then both of them pay off, plus an additional 3-point bonus. So yeah, you'll score your hunches. You'll score anything based on the connections to the conspiracy. Like with the early example, with the 2 connections to Cardinal Reese, anyone with a sad ending is losing more victory points. Any leftover favors could be worth points. Finally, whatever ending you ended up with for your plots will be worth points. Any trauma tokens you get will affect your points negatively. And most points wins. If there's a tie, if only one of the tied players had the correct guilty hunch, that player wins. Otherwise, they share the victory. What other stuff might come up? So, another thing with plots is they'll mention stuff like insight, or focus, or denial, or regret, in the case of Flynn. If something says gain 1 focus or gain 1 insight, and it matches what it shows on your plot, then you get that as that kind of baggage. Like for Raymond, haunted by the past, insight is good baggage for him, and regret is bad. Another thing that can come up in the game are hits. Hits go on a suspect, and 3 hits on a suspect means they're eliminated. Eliminated suspects don't pay off either way. But yeah, why do I like this game? First off, one of the things I appreciate that the game does is it includes strategy sheets for how to play your character and advice for how to deal with your opponents. Which, considering how much is going on in this game, is the least they could do. We've got different cases with different special rules and different potential events that could shake it up even if you're playing the same case again. Different general events. You can play a different detective. So there's just so many different ways to play to experience the game. The whole arc move is just so out there too. Remember, from the shape to the shape. There are things. One of the things that could happen is getting into a fight. And you have to choose your tactics. Light or dark. I think choosing light tactics lets you light shift. But yeah. Yeah. Depending on the tactics you choose, you can shift accordingly. If you want to be in a better position to play cards later. Yeah, there's just so much to this game. I really appreciate all the flavor text on like every freaking light and dark card and event and plots and the back of the detective sheets, and there's just so much to get kind of immersed in this world. It's for all the issues the game does have. It just does such a great job of building its world and its interesting cast of characters that it's just I just enjoy the experience of just being here in New Angeles or up on the moon or the Beanstalk. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I missed. Sorry, I keep missing stuff. Moving along, the Beanstalk is one time per changing location until you get up to here, and then you're free to go wherever. Oh yeah, the Beanstalk's its own district for leads too. Yeah, it's just such a compelling setting. You know, the future always feels both very close and very far away at the same time. It's like these games are an interesting reminder of that. Well, I think this is like, if not the only game, one of the rare games where Kevin Wilson actually does designer notes, and I appreciate those a lot. If you get a chance, do read his notes on this. And this is one of the original IPs that Fantasy Flight Games came up with. It served as the basis for bringing back Netrunner and developing the other Android games of Infiltration and New Angeles. Mainframe's kind of a reskin, but I guess I can count that too. But also, it's finally, most importantly, probably I have a lot of favorite taglines for games. I've mentioned Cutthroat Caverns before. I believe I also brought up in that description Android being my other favorite tagline of "The world changed, crime did not." Yeah. Yeah, I just love this game. I'm so happy I have it again. I'm going to start sleeving all the cards, and one of these days I will find a day and we'll play through this game to the end. The last two times I had this game, we ended up calling it after a few turns. It's like, come on, guys. But yeah, it's just so much going on. It's kind of a wild-ass game. You never know who's really going to be winning at the end, because you don't know who's got which hunches, or if they're going to pull off some last-minute good baggage onto their own plot. People can just mess with each other like crazy with the dark cards. It's the kind of experience that I recommend you experience. Have fun finding a copy because the game's out of print. I was very happy that this game was complete and available. So, thank you for having the game available for me to pick it up. Yeah. Android. Play. I remember talking to someone that had the game for sale at a convention. It was like, yeah, it's like Blade Runner, the board game. So, welcome to Blade Runner. Have fun being Rectectured. Alright, thanks for watching. It's Pillar. I'll see you next time.